Madama Butterfly speaks with a very universal kind of language. To be an Italian verismo opera based on a true encounter between an American naval officer and a geisha in Nagasaki, he is infatuated with her and ends up marrying her. And then it does come to a tragic conclusion. And so the drama is well known as a human experience. I will say that the piece was not a success at its premiere, and I think that was a result of an Italian composer setting an American writer's novel into an opera about Japan. It was overemphasizing its Japanese origins, and as a result, it failed. It was only after a remounting of it and rewriting of it and producing it in a smaller venue than La Scala that it started enjoying success. But it actually took 4 such productions over a period of 5 years. But in the course of that process, what Puccini finally created speaks to every culture, to every generation. The human elements in it are so strikingly universal that would be why it is the second or third most frequently produced opera in the world today. It begins out of sheer innocence, and that is following the wedding that had been arranged for Cho-Cho-san and Pinkerton. They are about to initiate their wedding night, and as a great love duet, it is an enormously beautiful lyric moment in the opera. And yet, at the very height of its intensity, Cho-Cho-san pushes him away because she remembered that she had heard that in America, people collect butterflies and they pin them to a board. And a butterfly collector would in fact display his collection in that way. And so suddenly it dawned on her that maybe this is what could happen to her if she succumbed to her impulses of love, and yet it met a tragic end. And all of those elements are in fact realized in the course of this fantastic opera. We find out at the beginning of the second act that Pinkerton has done what happens to naval people stationed in other cultures. They develop a web of friends and perhaps a marriage or something, and then they go home. And Pinkerton is just cynical enough in the beginnings of the first act to say, well, this is a wonderful, fun affair, having this wedding here, but then I'm going to go home to and find my true American wife. So that is why we get a little bit of the foreboding of tragedy with Butterfly, of all things, remembering that you pin butterflies to the wall as a collector's item. So it has many levels of irony in that drama. Then, of course, as I say, the curtain falls on the beautiful ecstasy of that wedding evening, and then it rises again, and we realize that now approximately 3 years have passed, and Pinkerton did return back to the States, and she has had a baby in the interim. And that young character figures prominently in the heightening of the tragedy. I'd mentioned that the curtain falls on the ecstasy of the wedding night, and it rises on Act 2, in which a number of years have passed. Cho-Cho-san has had a child, and she waits very, very patiently for her husband to return. Her true life is now tied to America. And yet she does not hear from him. She waits with enormous anticipation for his return. And so she sings Un bel di vedremo, which simply translated is one day he will come back. And she even enacts in a kind of visual drama the fact that the ship will come steaming into the harbor and that she will see it through her telescope, and then he will come running up the mountainside and they will be joyously reunited. And you know, every one of those elements happen in the course of the opera, except they have completely different meanings from our point of view of dramatic irony as the audience, because we heard his comment that he was going home to find a true American wife. The American consul there, a man named Sharpless, sits with her in a futile attempt to explain to her that Pinkerton is not coming back. And she finds it impossible to believe that. She has held out so much hope. And this great aria, Un bel di, one day, is in fact the centerpiece of what her sole being is about in his absence. Of course, what Sharpless does is write Pinkerton and say, by the way, there's something that perhaps you don't know. You have a son. And she is raising this son in the fervent hope that you are going to return and claim her and your child. Well, when we're putting a season together, then you want it to have a certain kind of menu. So I look for a balance of marketability, of popularity, of the ability of the work to speak to our audience. And then I want to put that menu together with a balance that will show Italian, German, English, French. We've done Czech, we have done Russian, we've done a number of things because it's such a rich art form. So yes, the best structural logic is to open with something that is very popular and appreciated by virtually everyone that loves the art form of opera, and then close your season with the same kind of counterbalancing offering. So that's why we're opening with Butterfly and closing with Porgy and Bess in this coming season. And in between, there are some masterpieces as well.